Okay, I want to start a bit kind of with some kind of framework about what we're talking about. Especially you working in the technology world, and I think we all have a tendency to think that with all the technology and phones and connectivity and internet, we all see everything, and it's out there. If something happening in the world, we see it. But actually, only 43% of the world have connectivity to the internet. So basically, we're talking about around, and from this 43%, 2/3 are consuming news that is censored by the regime in one way or another. So we're talking about 3.4 billion people that consuming news that is censored. We're not talking about what's happening in the state now and fake news and all this new trend. So actually, we have such a limitation of ability to get real information from the ground. Now, in these places, it's exactly where the biggest human rights violations are happening. Because in these places, people can't report what's happening, and the perpetrators have impunity. They think they can do whatever they want because nobody seeing what's happening in these areas. Almost like a black holes of information. And this is exactly the reason why we started Videre. And the aim of Videre, or Videre's credere, how we're supposed to say it, seeing is believing, is to equip these people in the oppressed communities with technologies, with cameras, to enable them to tell their own stories about what's happening to them. Not the journalists will fly in and tell their stories, or other NGOs, somebody telling what's happening to them. We should let them tell their stories. And the idea is equipping them with cameras and then helping these voices and this information to come out and engage it to the world in places we believe can create a positive effect on their life. We're actually offering an access to the international human rights community in places that others can't really work. Now, one of the first things we realized when we start doing this kind of work, that there's a massive risk of carrying cameras in these places. Nobody's doing violation, want people to stand with iPhones or with cameras and just film them. So we understood that we have to be very, very careful. And one of the reasons and one of the ways to do it is a decision that we took to work undercover. So we're mostly working with hidden cameras, with very small cameras that we know how to implement now in all kinds of things that people are carrying in these places. So it's not cameras you're buying in the market and you can give. It's modifying the cameras into tools and stuff that people can carry in their own areas. So working in Africa with women that have nothing, and we're putting cameras in stones. Working in other countries, it's inside wood or in clothes or in bags. So really learning how to give these people ability to use the technology in a safe way. Security is in the heart of our work. And being secure is not just working undercover with small cameras. It's about really understanding what's the risk that people are facing. We're doing a lot of work with local activists to understand what their risk they are suffering from and how to mitigate this risk. So we're doing a lot of work to build them safe houses and escaping routes and understanding how we can really protect them and how they can protect themselves in case they've been caught with a camera or something go really wrong. And we give them 24/7, 24/7 you say? 24/7, yes. It's false news. It's a different, it's a whole different data. So we give them support around the clock to be able really to help them if something goes wrong. Now, thanks to these people that we're working with can work in the most horrific and very hard to access areas. Now, by authenticating and verify this information, we managed to break through amongst all the media noise that we have today. And this is very important for us, and this is kind of without really selling, without really giving a verification, without verifying the information, without really understanding what's happening there, we cannot really work with this information. So it's very important for us that every piece of information we're getting has been verified. And we do it in a variety of ways. We check in the metadata, we check in Google Maps, we compare it to other information that we have, and to make sure that we really can use the information. Now, we often been asked by people, okay, so what you do with this information? So you got this information, it's in your head, people did a lot of effort to use this information. What you do with it? And this is part of our work to research and understand what impact look like. And impact is changing from place to place, from area to area. Sometimes impact is about exposing the information to the world and to the media so people have awareness. Sometimes it's really bringing evidence to lawyers to be able to sue perpetrators in court. And it's a different set of impact and different set of use of information. Sometimes it's working with local communities to make sure that they're doing their own campaigns and they're the one that's leading and telling us what to do with this kind of information. And sometimes working with decision makers to change the legislation. So it very much depends on what impact look like. In many cases, 5 minutes. In many cases, it's about working with all these tools together. So you're working with diplomats in one hand, and then from the other hand, you're standing into the media, and then you're making sure that the local community have it. So really using and maximizing the information that we have and the visual that we're getting. What I want to do, I want to give you a short glimpse of the materials that we are getting. Now, we usually don't talk about where we work for the security of people that we are working with. And whenever you hear us speaking about what we do, we never mention the countries, and we also never taking credit about the work that we do. So you might see our materials in the news, and a lot of our stuff was out there in big media channels or local media channels, but we never saying it's ours for the security and the safety of people.